So I'm going to be talking to you today about my action research project, which I studied the effect of using intervention strategies to improve student grades and understanding of content. The purpose of this study was to determine how intervention strategies affect student grades and the understanding of content. The study took place at the end of a unit and after the students took a unit exam. I took the unit exam scores and then based intervention strategies and a reflection piece around student exam scores. The participants in this study included my students from my 3rd and 4th hour biology class. I did not study all students because not all students needed some intervention for this unit. Just some research to back intervention. I found a great article on RTI. So RTI, or response to intervention, if we define it, it's a multi-tier approach to the early identification and support of students with learning and behavioral needs. RTI can help provide support for students who need that extra support. And it also allows for the classroom teacher to monitor the progress of their students. So students who are really struggling, teachers can closely monitor how they are doing and what improvements they're making as they work their way through the content. I also use the book Failure is Not an Option. So Blankenstein stated in his book, ranging from the identification of students needing extra support before the school year begins to mandatory enrollment in remedial and or skills classes. I think this is important as a classroom teacher because if we could identify students that are really struggling or lacking in particular skills, we could help them by enrolling them or spending some extra time at the beginning of the school year teaching those students the skills that they need. Another thing I'm big on is instructional intervention. So this is a specific program or set of steps that's going to help a child or student improve in an area of need. With instructional intervention, one, it's going to target specific students, and 2, teachers can adjust and modify their instructional strategies to assist those students. Something else with instructional intervention, it can, one, not only help with the students that are struggling, but if we kind of gear our lessons and know exactly where our students are at, we can also help maybe get those students that aren't struggling as much or don't need as much intervention. We can also help them get to the next level. All right, so my data collection plan for this study, so it was conducted at the end of Unit 5, which is cell division. I used just a handful of students from my 3rd and 4th hour biology classes. And once I graded the assessments, I gave out a reflect and correct assignment, but also an intervention assignment. With the intervention assignment, there were several levels of mastery and specific assignments for each level of mastery. So at 89% or lower, all students had the option to complete just the reflection and correcting the answers that they got wrong. At 79% or lower, students were expected to complete the reflect and correct and a series of intervention assignments. 69% or lower, students were asked to complete a reflect and correct, a series of intervention assignments, and then not required unless they had an F, but if they had, say, a 69% to a 60%, it was highly recommended that they attend PLT, which is, we call it a Pirate Learning Time, which is a study hall. If they had a 59% or lower, then they were required to attend that study hall time, and they were expected, they were scheduled, so they had certain days that they had to come in, and they were expected to be there and be working on the material that they were struggling with. So this is just an example of the assignment that I gave. So as you can see, I had 3 groups: proficient, and then a close group. So they were asked to watch a video and then create a T-chart or Venn diagram. And then for the kids that were 69% or lower, they were also asked to watch a video, complete a T-chart, and then complete a tutorial and all of the practices that went with that tutorial. My data analysis methods, so I used a static comparison group. So I took 2 groups, my far from group and then my close group, and I compared their scores. I collected both qualitative and quantitative data, and I used a Google form to collect qualitative data. All students who participated in this study ended up improving their scores, some more than others, but there was an improvement in test scores. All right, so this is just my data from where my kids started and then where they ended once they completed the assignment. So in my FAR group, I saw some big improvements in students and then some not so great improvements. And mainly with some of them that didn't see significant improvements, it was more of they either didn't do the assignment correctly, or they waited so long to get that done that I'm sure some of them were trying to remember some of the information and material from what we did back before Christmas break. For my qualitative data, I based this on student perception. So I asked a series of questions, and one of them I asked the students, how well do you feel that you understood mitosis and meiosis once you completed the intervention? And then I did it as 1 being the worst and 5 being the greatest, so a greater understanding or a less understanding of the material. So in most cases, I had kids over here in the 4 and 5, so felt that they had a better understanding of the material. After students completed the reflect and correct, I did the same thing. So how well do you feel that you understood it? Same thing, I had more kids over here in the 4 and 5 range, which is good because I wanted to base it on student perception. And then the last one, I asked, how engaged were you during the completion? And this one is good for me to know because I did have some students that didn't feel that they were engaged. So at the end of this, I determined that all students who participated in the study improved their scores. Those students who did not show significant improvements didn't follow directions or turn the assignment in late. Some of these students also just didn't keep up on their notes. I did also determine that students struggle with the reflecting. So I got a lot of, I didn't understand the question, or I don't know, which kind of defeated the whole purpose of the reflection, because I was really looking for what did you do wrong, or why is this question right? This assignment, I plan on sharing it with the science department. I think collaboration is key. in this and having those conversations with the department about student misconceptions and the skills that they're lacking. I also think it's important to have student feedback. And then these are my references that I used, not all of them, but some of the references that I used throughout this project.